What do you think about JMIA, Jimmy? Oh, okay. Well, there you go, Alonzo. You asked me the question that I literally answered. Hold on. This is my accountant. I got to answer this real quick. Hold on. Okay, so Danette is asking, Dr. B, you are transparent with your ideas and plans. What protections do you have in place to prevent theft of your ideas from others? For some ideas in terms of trademarks and copyrights, I have, legal stuff in place, right? You get stuff trademarked and copywritten, but a lot of my other stuff, I'm just not real territorial about that because I kind of want the community to be smarter and I know I'm not going to live forever. And so if people take my ideas and even if they, use the ideas as their own, I don't usually get offended by that. I mean, hopefully people don't get um, just overly what's the word overly abusive of that or disrespectful. But I'm not real picky. Like I see people, for example, take my videos and they'll place my video on their YouTube channel, and some people get real crazy, like, oh, you took my, I'm going to report you to YouTube. I don't do that. I don't think I've ever. Only time I've ever reported anything is if somebody's like says something that's just flat out untrue. Then you're committing slander and libel. But outside of that, um, no, I didn't invent economics, and or black wealth and black finance. I maybe at best I've helped enhance our understanding of these areas or come up with some frameworks that help us understand these things better. But I actually want you to repeat the things that we talk about. I just ask, like, we operate in the Black Business School on an honor system, which kind of says just be honorable about it. Like don't, just don't try to harm us or just be overly exploitative, but just know most of the time, like for example, when people do memberships in the Black Business School, if they have like their whole family sharing the same membership, I don't care. Just help us pay the bills so that we can do, continue the mission, right? So that's kind of my framework on it. I don't really get picky about people, like if I see someone, like one time I was on the Breakfast Club and I was talking about something called FU money, and I was explaining like FU money means having enough money where your boss can say F you, or you can say F you to your boss and quit your job. And then I saw where the week after Tyra Banks like literally repeated that same concept in a magazine and they gave her credit for it. I didn't care. I thought it was great that people are thinking that way, right? That we're shifting the thought process of black economics, in America. And so it was actually exciting to me. It wasn't something where I'm like, oh, she stole my idea or that's, whatever. No, I don't get into that. And also I have a lot of confidence in my ideas. Like I just know if you take one of my ideas, I've got 1,000 others in my brain, right? So you can't really, it's hard to replicate my brain, but I want to do that, right? I want to have, 1 million kids in the future that are really thinking at a high level, maybe because I was able to play a part in helping make that happen. Okay, so Amadullah says, good morning, Dr. Boyce. What are the best ways to identify the best option plays? Well, one thing that people look at is implied volatility, and they find options that have the right level of implied volatility, which increases the amount of options premium that you can make if you sell the option, or then the opposite, low implied volatility means the premium will be low, which means these might be options that you might actually buy. You buy low, sell high. There we cover a lot of the option stuff. If you go to stockoptionsmasterclass.com, you can feel free to take a look at the recording of the masterclass that we did. It was really good. Everybody loved it. Like 97% of the students loved it and said the price was perfect and everything else. And also you get it actually at a lower price since it's the recording, it's not live. But it may be another year before I do a live options masterclass. So if you'd like to take a look at the last one we did, you can go to stockoptionsmasterclass.com. Leela says, Boyce, how do you stay emotionally stable? I'm a big believer in meditation and finding your center and finding your peace. And so, here's the deal. The thing is that you have to figure out like who you are and what makes you happy and what matters to you, and then maybe even make a list of the things that are most important to you, and keep the list short. And then what I do is I don't think about anything other than the five or six things on that are on that list. So it might be like family, my health, my career, and slash mission, and a couple other things, right? And and then that's what I think about, right? So, and the other thing too is I don't force myself to do things I don't want to do. Like, right, like for example, the biggest thing I can think of is like I hated working for white people because I didn't like being oppressed. Oppression is not fun for me. And I just said I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to find a way out of that. And also, if I don't want to wake up, I won't. If I don't want to get out of bed, I won't get out of bed. If I want to take a nap, I'll go take a nap. I found very early in life that getting enough sleep was a very big deal in terms of your ability just to be happy. Like I don't like working and dragging through my sleep, like just because it makes me hate whatever I'm doing. So why not go take a 20-minute power nap and then you come back and you're feeling fresh and you're ready to go. So self-care is important, especially for those of you that are ambitious and you're hustlers and you're working hard. And especially, or some of you, and I've noticed this, not to be gender specific, but I've noticed Black women, a lot of Black women I know carry the weight of the whole family on their back. Anybody else know somebody like that in the family where they're doing everything for all the kids, for the spouse, maybe for the church, for their boss, right? They're carrying this heavy load. And what I've said to the Black women that I care about, including my wife to be, is I said, I just need you to take care of yourself as well as you're taking care of other people. Like, and some people I know, they're so selfless that they can't even imagine taking care of themselves. I don't know exactly where all that comes from, but it's like no, but what I say is like you have to take care of you for you to even be able to take care of other people. So being selfish sometimes is the best way for you to be selfless. So there has to be a time, and I know I do this, right? I will say, you know what, Boyce needs a break. Boyce is like worn out. I'm gonna let him. I know I'm talking about myself in the third person. I sound kind of weird right now, but I'm gonna let him go and recharge his batteries. He doesn't give a damn what you got going on right now. He's not taking any calls. We're not, whatever. And then when he's better, he can come out and help save the world. But you cannot let your circumstances and situations and people deplete you. Also, you have to know how to take things with a grain of salt. Perspective is everything, and there's a different formula for everybody, but for me, perspective is important. So, for example, I learned to look at failure as a stepping stone for success. Failure is a training camp. It's just showing like, okay, trial and error. It didn't work this time. It's going to work eventually because you're getting better every time. And when you think about it that way, then you hit a failure. You're like, okay, well, that's step one, right? Step two might be to fail again, and step 10 might be to fail 10 times in a row. But eventually, I'm going to get that win. Looking at things that way helps you kind of keep your balance. And there's just a lot of tips and tools I think for that, because I think that's an important part of success. Like some people get success at a certain level and they start freaking out over every little thing and they can't handle it. So that's where knowledge of self, and maybe it's meditation, maybe it's exercise, maybe it's seeing a therapist, maybe it's reading books or watching self-help videos. But you got to do something to kind of maintain that inner peace so you can move forward, comfortably. And that just starts with self-awareness, just even knowing when you're rattled or when you're out of pocket, and having a mechanism to kind of to manage that. So I'm very big on that type of stuff. Actually, I put together a whole curriculum on that if you want to go take a look at it. It used to have a fee in the Black Business School, but we decided to offer it for free. It's called Black Keys to Greatness. It's blackkeystogreatness.com. And literally I did probably 50 videos just literally on stuff like that. Like, maintaining your balance, setting your goals, dealing with obstacles, dealing with haters, dealing with everything. Because I deal with all of that, right? I see haters out there and it's like, okay, do I respond or do I ignore it? If I respond, how do I respond? Or how do and you have to figure out policies and strategies to deal with everything that's out there. And so basically the blackkeystogreatness.com, that's where I lay all that out. So it's totally free now. We decided to offer it for free to all the students. So just go to blackkeystogreatness.com and maybe that'll help you. Because there is a way to approach things. You have to have a certain mindset in order to rise above the pettiness around you, and to pursue a higher mission, to get the most value out of your life, to not focus too much on the wrong things, like for example, obsessing over money. I have found for a lot of people is not a good strategy, because money doesn't really make you happy. Having lots of money, but where you're just doing anything to get money, and you're not finding any other form of fulfillment, is a very depressing thing. So yeah, you want to think about this stuff. Okay, so let's see, Cecilia, what's the difference between a Roth IRA and a brokerage account? They are both after taxes money. The Roth IRA is where your taxes are deferred. You're using post-tax income, so you've been taxed on the money before you put it in the account, but they don't make you pay taxes on your capital gains until you hit retirement. So that's what a Roth IRA does. It's a long-term investing vehicle. Let's see. Hero Sinclair says, I'm saving down payment money to purchase a home. What's a liquid vehicle with a decent return where I can put my money for 6 to 8 months? Right now, a lot of people are going with the stock market. I like to generate income from like writing stock options and things like that. And so I can't think of anything outside of the stock market, because real estate's not all that liquid. If you put your money into a business, you may not get that money back for a while. The stock market is one of those places where people are going to get yield and return. Now there is some stuff happening in crypto where there's like a little bit of a refi market, or refinancing market within crypto, but it's not. I mean, the returns right now, the stock market's kind of the best game in town. It's been that way for about 13 years, but it was actually doing really well even before that, though. You can go back to the 60s. If you started investing in the 60s, you'd be extremely rich. No matter how much your income was, even if you were a poor person who invested, say 10%, like they always talk about tithing in church, where they expect everybody to put 10% into the church. Well, to me, I think the church, your family's a church, right? So if you're tithing to your family and tithing to your economic future, and you do that over a 10, 20, 30-year period, you're going to be wealthy. By the time you're done, you're going to be wealthy, right? All you have to do is put your money in savings vehicles that are going to let your money grow. It's not complex. It's not hard to do. Consistent investment in the stock market historically has been a winning strategy for almost everybody. Let's see here. Laron says, have you mentioned that you will recommend the top 10 stocks that you currently have in your portfolio now? If you did not have them in your current portfolio, have you given or mentioned? Well, I mentioned this week, in the Black Stock Market Program, which a lot of you are in there already. I have something called What Dr. Boyce is Buying, and basically, and also the people, those of you in the Powernomics Masterclass that want to do that as well, feel free to just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com, and they can let you in. But basically, I tell my students exactly what I'm invested in and why and what my moves are for that week. So one thing I'll say is one thing I did talk about was these companies that are competing with Amazon, like CVS and Walgreens and GoodRx. Their stock prices dropped when Amazon announced they were going to go into the pharmaceutical industry, and that actually is an opportunity, because when Amazon goes into an industry, stock prices in the companies in those industries tend to drop, but they find that the drop tends to be more dramatic than necessary. It tends to be a market overreaction. And that overreaction leads to what we refer to as a reversal, which is just you go down, and then eventually everybody calms down and realizes that the company's not as bad off as people think, because it actually takes years for a company like Amazon, even as powerful as Amazon, it takes years for them to develop a foothold in an industry. So, long story short, these companies turn out to be good investments. And again, if you go to the blackstockmarketprogram.com, all that's there. And not only do I tell you guys what I'm doing this week, but literally you can go back and look at the last 30 or 40 weeks, like where I each week I talk about companies I like, and I tend to think in terms of long-term investing. I'm not really into, that fast money. I'd rather have you get the slow money, not the short money. The long money is better, where you're investing in companies that have good long-term prospects. These sort of quick hit it and quit it trades, they're sexy and cool and exciting. And they're really exciting when the market's doing really well, because everybody seems like they're making money, but they're not so much fun when you finally hit a bear market. And let's say the bear market lasts for 2 years. That stuff, that sexy, fun, and cool stuff kind of goes out the window. So I'm more into long-term fundamental investing, but that's just, That's just how we talk about things. So if you want to try out the Black Stock Market Program, a lot of you are in there already. If you're not in there yet, you can go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. The first month is totally free, and all my stock stuff is in there. Okay, so in addition to like this really big curriculum and stuff. All right, so let's see here. Ronnie, hey doc, I know your general practice is to replicate stock purchases, buying in the money for very long term. Do you ever sell those options early and take the profit because the time value is left? Yeah, I did that with some of my Disney options. What he's referring to is a stock replication strategy, where basically instead of buying the stock, you actually buy a deep in the money call option, where you are gonna probably get your money back because it's deep in the money, but you don't have to put up as much capital. I'm a big fan of that process, and I did that with Disney, for example, because I felt a long time ago, I felt like Disney was just so smart that I felt like this company was going to make some crazy moves during the pandemic that were going to put Disney ahead. I just like Disney's management team. I think the management team is really good, and they did. They actually did exactly what I thought. They made these announcements where they were getting all these crazy subscribers from Disney Plus, and now they're going to get more because they're packaging everything. They're throwing in the whole Marvel universe and all their Disney stuff and ESPN and Hulu, and like they're just going hard after Netflix. And I think they're going to eventually maybe kick Netflix's butt a little bit. Not that Netflix is going to die. Netflix is always going to have at least 100 million subscribers, maybe 200 million, but Disney's there, right? They're going to get a piece of that market. And so anyway, I did that with the stock replication with Disney because at the time I didn't have as much capital as I wanted to invest. So I just went with what I had, and it paid off. The ROI was ridiculous, almost 100% or 150% or something. And I just went ahead and was like, I'll sell some of this. Because I didn't necessarily want to hold the options all the way up until expiration, because with stock options, you have what they call that time decay, where the time premium whittles away over time. The more time goes by, the less your time premium is. So sometimes it does make sense to sell an option early. Early exercise almost never makes sense, right? But early sale makes perfect sense because you're getting that extra price component that reflects the fact that your option still has time to maturity. So anybody who was a little bit confused by what I said, feel free to go take a look at our stock options masterclass. I explain it all. We start from the beginning. I explain how options work. Options are a great way to enhance your portfolio. I'm telling you, if you know stock options and know them well, it will allow you a wide range of tricks that will allow you to customize your portfolio to fit exactly what you're looking to do. You're not a crazy day trader trying to buy and sell in the same 2-hour period to make fast money, going through the ups and the emotional anguish of watching your money disappear. You're not just a person on Robinhood who's buying options because you're looking for a quick flip that might also flip, to a negative 100% return. You're able to actually calibrate your risk, where you can take some of the upside and you can take some of the downside. So it's like not knowing how to use options is like somebody saying, okay, which do you want? Do you want to take a freezing cold shower, or do you want to take a burning hot shower, right? Do you want to burn your skin, or do you want to freeze your skin? You got to make a choice, right? That's not a fun decision to make. Options allows you to say, okay, I want some hot, I want some hot water, but then I want some cold water because I want warm water. I don't want the water to be too hot or too cold. And I want to have the ability, like when I take my bath, I love to take a bath, but when it gets the tub gets cold, I'll turn on nothing but hot water to heat it back up. You know what I'm talking about? You circulate the hot water and you're like, okay, this is perfect, right? So options are the same way. It allows you to calibrate your portfolio to fit your exact risk preferences. It's where you know how to buy options, sell options, do certain, call spreads, butterfly spreads, whatever it is that you're trying to do that will allow you to get your portfolio just right. Right. So feel free, stockoptionsmasterclass.com. That's the recording of the masterclass, stockoptionsmasterclass.com. All right. So let's see here. Cedric says, Dr. Boyce, I'm wondering if or when audiobooks from your material and Dr. Claude, Black Labor, White Wealth, and Powernomics will be available. Dr. Claude doesn't have audiobooks. I don't know if when he's ever going to do it. I can ask his family about it, but I'll bring it up. I know today we have Powernomics Masterclass, and I'll ask Dr. Claude about it to see if I can help them to find somebody that will do the audio version of their book. I bet we could pay a company to do it. And I think that would be good for the world because you're not the first person to bring that up. And by the way, if anybody wants to join the Powernomics Masterclass, it's almost done, but the recording will be available. Everything's recorded. So feel free to go to powernomicsmasterclass.com. That's powernomicsmasterclass.com. All right. So Tommy Taylor, good morning. I sold a January 15, 2021 call for $9 for Mara. Mara selling at $13. I bought at $8. It hasn't been exercised. Do I need to do anything? No. If you hold your option until the expiration date, then they're gonna come and exercise your option for you. Somebody's gonna say, okay, this call option I bought that gives me the right to purchase this stock at $9. I want to exercise that, and they're going to exercise. If the price doesn't change, like let's say the price stays at 13 or stays above 9, somebody's going to come and exercise that because there's money on the table now, and you have to give that up. But that's okay though, because you got your premium when you sold the option, and you got the price jump. You got that $8 to $9 price jump. So you got $1 per share that you made from owning the stock. But after 9, that all belongs to somebody else. So someone else is going to come and claim their piece of everything. So selling the call option is a little bit like, finding a business partner. It's like selling to somebody saying, look, give me some money, and I'll give you, 50% of the profits of this company, right? So give me $100,000. I'll give you 50% of whatever this business makes. And then if the business takes off and makes a bunch of money, then they're going to come and collect, right? So a lot of times when you allow somebody to buy equity in your company, this is true from a theoretical standpoint. Actually, stocks themselves are really big call options. They just come in a different form, but mathematically and according to financial theory, a stock or equity position is basically the same as an option. It's just a different context. But when somebody buys stock, when you buy stock in a company, you're pretty much buying a call option on the company's assets. So let's see here. Rodney says, thank you for the excellent stock options masterclass. I've learned a great deal about the stock market and investing strategies. Never would have learned to make money from covered calls to generate income without you. Great professor. Oh, thank you, Ronnie, for the kind words. I appreciate that. Yeah, anybody wants to take a look at the stock options masterclass, I'm really proud of it because it was so much fun to put together, and I know you guys got a lot of value from it. So feel free to go to stockoptionsmasterclass.com. The recordings are all there, and I'm going to do another stock options weekend after I finish testing out this new methodology. I don't like to just teach what's out there or talk about what's out there. I like actually creating things that are specific to what you guys are trying to do. And that's what my PhD helps me to do. That I think that's tough to do. It took a long time to learn how to do this, but I've been working on something for like a year that I'm actually going to release pretty soon. It's the way my family actually earns its money from options, and I just want to make sure it's fully tested before I throw you guys in there, because I don't want you to be in there when the situation is going to be crazy for you, or either crazy or overly confusing. So I'm going to just take my time, but I will let you know when we do that. All right. So Terrell, hello, Dr. Watkins. Now that you and your loved ones are in a comfortable position financially, what drives you to get out of bed every morning? That's a great question, Terrell. I have never had a midlife crisis ever. Right. I have always been very happy with my life. And the reason I've been very happy is because I'm very deliberate about choosing happiness. I read an article a long time ago. I had here's where it started. Maybe this will help you. I'm not going to be long-winded with the story, but I think it's important. These things intrigue me because I think happiness matters far more than money. But when I was a teenager, I was very depressed. I had a problem with depression as a kid for a lot of reasons I won't go into because I ain't trying to be all sad today. And when I was 19 years old, I was walking to the library and I was walking down the steps. And right when I was walking down the steps, it hit me. I had an epiphany that changed my life forever. The epiphany was that I could be happy by choosing to be happy. I don't know if everybody else can do it, but I learned that whether I woke up that day in a good mood or a bad mood came down to whether I chose to be in a good mood or a bad mood. And I believe everybody has some of that power. Like, I think that if you try to be smart, you can be smarter. If you try to be positive, you can be positive. If you're a Christian and someone says, come on now, we're all Christians here. You want to be a good Christian, don't you? And it'll straighten you up. You'll be like, yeah, I'm a good Christian. I want to be a good Christian. So I won't stab him in his eye, right? Whatever, right? And so basically I realized like, okay, I have that power. I don't have to wait for the world to tell me if I'm going to have a good day or if I'm going to be a nice person. I'm going to choose those things, right? And that was deliberate and important because I didn't like, I didn't like being sad and depressed all the time. So I started looking for deliberate strategies to be optimistic, to look, specifically and consciously looking for the bright side. Like I became conscious about my mental health, right? And that I can tell you that was the best thing I ever did. And so as a result, the next 30 years, I was really happy. I very happy, except maybe a couple of times, like, I don't know, some girl dumps you or something, then you're sad for about 2 weeks, right? But for the most part, I was very happy with my life. Here's the funny thing. The only time I started feeling depressed again, though, because when I start feeling it, I instantly notice it and I start diagnosing it, trying to figure out, like, why am I depressed? What's going on? Well, what happened was it was actually after I had actually achieved almost every single goal I had. Every goal I had in my life at 19, 20 years old, I can tell you I accomplished it and then some, like every single thing. And because I've always been super goal oriented, I'm obsessed with that. And so here's the thing. I got up and I just told Alicia, I said, you know what? My whole life I've gotten up out of bed because I either needed to make money. I don't need to make money anymore. I'm an investor. I have wealth, whatever. I don't, I get up because I had someplace to go or something I'm trying to do. Right. I was always like the guy in second place trying to get to first place, squirrel trying to get a nut, trying to find a way to achieve something, trying to finish my PhD or trying to finish a contract or whatever it was. And I was like, I don't actually have to get out of bed. I could stay in the bed and watch Netflix for the next week and my life wouldn't change that much. And that became very depressing because I then had to figure out what my purpose was. A lot of times I figured out, I watch human beings a lot. And one thing I noticed is that people tend to do stuff because they just do it because everybody else is doing it and they're trying to find their sense of purpose. So, like I had a friend in school who got married and divorced by the time she was 24. And I said, well, when you finished college, why did you marry that guy? She said, I don't know. She said, I just thought it was the next thing you were supposed to do after you finish school. And I noticed people do that. Like people will get married and have kids so they'll have something to do. And then your kids become your purpose. If you got a job at a corporation, that becomes your purpose, right? Like okay, well, what do you got to do? Why don't we go to the movies today? Well, no, I got to go to pick up the kids and I got to go to work, right? Most of the time, that's what people say they have to do. They have to go to work, right? So I lost that sense of purpose and I had to refine that sense of purpose. And it helped me also understand why there are millionaires and billionaires who are very depressed. Like there are millionaires who are suicidal. And I believe that the reason they're suicidal is because it's pretty damn boring when you have everything you need and you don't have some crisis or some problem that you're trying to solve or some people that you have to serve, whether it's your boss or your family or something else, right? If you have nothing to do, if you're good, like if you're, that's why some people get into relationships. You ever see somebody who gets into a relationship that's actually healthy and they can't stand it, right? They feel like it's boring, right? Like, oh, he would, well, why don't you date that guy? He was a great guy. Well, he was boring. I mean, he didn't cause any problems. He had everything together. And there are some people who don't like that. They like drama because drama gives them a sense of purpose. They need that high of feeling like there's a crisis going on and they have to deal with it. It's like a drug. So basically, because I had this drama-free life where I'd achieved most of my goals and I didn't have to rush up and go solve some problem for whatever, or fix some financial issue. It was like, okay, I'm bored right now. I'm very sad right now. So I had to figure out what my sense of purpose was. And so that's when you climb up what they call Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And there's the Maslow's hierarchy is basically where at the bottom you've got basic needs like food, water, shelter. A lot of people never get past that. That's why you see a lot of people that maybe the gold digger mentality or people that will do anything for money. They're kind of at that bottom because they grew up like not having enough of anything. And then you have the next level, which is something like, love and acceptance from other people, and then the other one or another one that relates to like, what is it? like I guess where people like respect and honor, and people like you and think that you're great and you've accomplished something. Like, look, mom, I made it. Now I'm famous now. And then there's like the higher level where you don't care about that anymore. You don't care about being famous. You don't care about making money. You're not trying to get shelter and food. You're not trying to get people to love you. You're well loved. You felt all that, and then you achieve what they call self-actualization. So climbing up that ladder, I think, is a great way to feel fulfilled, because then you can say, okay, I'm a part of something that's bigger than me, right? This is not about me making money or me becoming famous or people liking me. This is me doing this because there's a bigger purpose that God put into the universe, and I want to be a part of that purpose, even if it sacrifices myself, right? So I like to believe that my goal was to kind of climb up that hierarchy. And when I did that, when I kind of processed that, meditated on that, I was like, okay, now I know why I get out of bed every day, right? So that's what it is. Thank you for letting me explain that. I can't explain it like halfway. I got to like let it all out. So I hope I hope it was worth your time. All right. So Yolanda, is it true that dividends from whole life insurance can be used for retirement? Yeah. I mean, if you get dividends, I mean, you just reinvest them, right, and they can grow into something else, right, over time. I'm a believer that if you have extra money that you don't have to actually spend at that moment, why not invest it? Why not let it grow? Rashane says, hello, Dr. Boyce. Would you recommend putting stocks and assets in a trust or a will? Yeah, wills, trusts are a really great way to protect your assets. I have trusts myself. I think trusts are really good. Talk to your lawyer, though. This is not legal advice. This is just me saying I think you should look into trust. What do you think about buying S&P 500 versus buying a whole Tesla stock, long term and short term? Well, if you buy the S&P 500, you're safer. So you get like an ETF. They call them spiders for the S&P. You get an ETF or something that's a lot safer than buying an individual stock. I know Tesla is very exciting as a company. I'm excited about Tesla. I've made money from Tesla. I like Tesla, but just know Tesla's risky. Again, I always keep talking about. I keep asking, like, what happens if Elon Musk dies? If Elon Musk dies, then Tesla's value plummets. And I don't want you to be in a position where you're going to lose all your money. So just be really careful. Terrell, what are your thoughts on writing covered calls on volatile stocks that could decrease in value substantially? You have to do it very, very carefully, and that's one of the things that we were talking about earlier. The volatile stocks have the highest premium, but they also have the highest risk, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch. So whenever you're getting extra money, this seems like easy money. The first thing you should say is, like maybe this isn't easy money. Like, what am I actually exposing myself to that could cause problems? It's like if the local drug dealer wants to pay you $300 a day just to carry a package down the block, then you'd be a sucker not to sit back and say, okay, what exactly am I risking when I do this job, right? So I think that there's ways, like, this is where stock options are really important, right? So if you have an investment of a bunch of volatile stocks and you're writing call premiums on those stocks, then there's ways you have to structure the portfolio, like meaning to minimize your risk, through diversification. There's ways you might use other forms of options, put options, to protect yourself from the downside. There may be ways that you avoid certain industries that have a lot of what I call jump risk, where that stock, I bought a pharmaceutical company one time that literally lost 70% of its freaking value in one day. And I was blown away when it happened. And I was like, oh my God, Alicia, please don't kill me. I just I just blew up the lab in the basement. I mixed two chemicals that blew up the whole basement. And now the fire department's at the house. And so basically what it was this company had a clinical trial, and the clinical trial failed. So all the value, all the hopes and dreams they had of making all this money in the future suddenly vanished, and the stock price plummeted as a result. Fortunately, I had made enough money from selling the options in advance that it covered most of the loss. So it still turned out okay. But seeing that sort of thing happen was a great lesson in saying, okay, if I go into certain industries or approach things in a certain way, I have to look for certain characteristics in the stocks to make sure that I'm not overexposing myself to capital depletion issues. The number one job of an investor it's like football. Anybody know any football fans in here? What's the number one job of the quarterback? Can somebody answer the question? Somebody give me an answer. What is the number one job of a quarterback in football? Somebody answer. Tell me. So I will see if there's any football fans. There we go. Kevin got it. It is to protect the ball, right? It's not to get the ball down the field. It's not to score touchdowns. It's not to get it to the running back or the wide receiver. The number one job of the quarterback is to protect the ball, because if you don't protect the ball, then nothing else matters. So as an investor, I believe that your number one job as an investor, in my opinion, is to protect the ball, to preserve your capital, to protect your wealth, protect your assets. That's if you listen to rich people, you could tell them that there's 10 birds in the bush, but a lot of times they'll say, I'll just take the one bird in the hand because I'm not trying to get extra birds. I've already flipped my birds, and I got a whole nest full of birds, and I don't need 10 more birds. I just don't want to lose the birds I have. Right. So the more wealth you have, the more of a protective investing strategy you have to pursue in order to ensure that the wealth you've built up doesn't just deplete and get killed. So that's where, thinking strategically about where you place your money, all the things that could cause you to lose your money and deplete your capital. That's where that comes into play. Let's see here. So Kevin, and by the way, so the stock options masterclass, stockoptionsmasterclass.com. If you want to go take a look at the masterclass that we had done on this. Let's see here. My daughter, who invested in Tesla, called me and said, Daddy, Tesla went up 100% in a day. Should I cash out? I responded, what if it continues to go up? Remember, we're investing for the long haul. After it dropped a few days later, she gave me the business. Thoughts? Well, I think that having your daughter understand, first of all, congratulations on getting your daughter investing early. I think that's really great. Second of all, I would say, I think it's a matter of really understanding that what goes up can always go down. And people forget that when the market's doing really well, they think it can only go up. And they had the same problem in 1929, right before the Great Depression, where everybody just thought it could never go down. So suddenly everybody was a stock expert, and everybody was, people were writing news articles saying, oh, you can double your money in so much time by putting it in the stock market. And I think the enthusiasm for investing is definitely warranted. It's a good thing, but you have to always talk about the downside. You have to talk about all the things that can go wrong, just so you're ready, so that you're prepared. Now, do me a favor. Let me look and check out my calendar. Make sure I don't, because I don't know what my meeting schedule is for today. I don't want to mess up. And okay, I got it. All right, good. Okay, yeah. Okay. So the Powernomics Masterclass is today at 2 p.m. Eastern. So if you'd like to join us, you can go to powernomicsmasterclass.com. We only have one more live session, but then the recording will be available forever. So you can go to powernomicsmasterclass.com. All right. So let's see here. What do you think about Alibaba? I know China has punished Jack Ma and withheld delaying of the IPO for Ant. Do you think Baba is still a good buy for the future? I think that Chinese companies in general, from a broad-based standpoint, are a great investment just for diversification purposes. But I did pay attention to what's going on with Jack Ma, who runs Alibaba. And I'm really curious. I don't know enough about Chinese politics to know how much trouble he's in, because I know he upset the Chinese government, which is something I would never do personally. And so, maybe it's being overplayed, but I do know that the Chinese government interfered with his ability to do the IPO for another company he's involved with called Ant, A-N-T. And but I think Alibaba is gonna. I mean, they are so freaking strong. I think they make more money than Amazon. I think they set a global record where they sold. What was it? Why do I want to say $50 billion in sales in one day? I don't think that just seems like that number seems so crazy. Let me see. Because they have like a special holiday, like almost like a Chinese version of Black Friday. So let me see, Alibaba sales record. Yeah, they sold $115 billion of merchandise in one day. I thought 50 billion was crazy. I literally was questioning myself when I said 50 billion. It's actually $115 billion in one day. So this company is insane in terms of how much money they're able to make. I don't see any reason why, a person wouldn't add it to their portfolio, but I just want to warn you against this idea of believing that one company can kind of be the be all end all for you. That's not what's gonna make you rich and successful. It's gonna be a consistent, diversified strategy across assets. It's not gonna be one stock that's gonna do it all. Just try to be careful about that line of thinking. Have you heard of the social media app Big O Live? And if so, do you think it's a good investment? I have not heard of Big O Live. Last one I heard about was Clubhouse. Everybody keeps telling me I should join Clubhouse. I'm still trying to figure out how Clubhouse would actually help me if I'm just talking to like 12 people in a room. I talk to 12 people when I could talk to 10,000 at once. That's the part I'm still trying to figure out, but maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. I still got to be convinced of that though. El Haj, what's the process of starting an investment group with family to start investing in the stock market? Well, there's first find relatives who are able and willing to commit to some sort of code of conduct, in terms of investing. So that means if the agreement is everybody's going to put $50 a month in, make sure everybody does what they're supposed to do. Investment clubs should also have a learning component where you're learning something every week. I think there should be a love component where you are also understanding the value of a family investment club as an opportunity for all of you to share love with each other and be there for each other and get to know each other and keep up with what each other is doing. And also what that does is that translates into economics. Love and economics are deeply connected because wealth is deeply connected to relationships and families. So if you have a loving, happy family and you're also talking about economics, then you're probably going to have some prosperity that comes out of that. And then from a procedural standpoint, there are just rules for investment clubs in the United States. And those of you that are in Black Money 102 or the Black Stock Market Program, I do a whole lecture on how to form an investment club. So if you want to go look in your curriculum section. And those of you that don't have access yet, you can do the free trial by going to theblackstockmarketprogram.com, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. The stock market program is the second class in our Black Money sequence in the Black Business School. So feel free to go take a look at that as well. Let's see. Veronica says, "What crypto would you recommend since all banks have them?" I'm not going to pretend to be a crypto expert, but I have invested heavily in crypto, and so what I would say is that I would kind of not I wouldn't put too much faith in what crypto is going to do for you financially. I would just invest. If you're going to invest in it, I would look at it as something where you don't want to miss out in case things happen in this industry. Crypto is so powerful and so interesting and has so much potential. And I've heard so many crazy stories from experts regarding what they just think just on Bitcoin alone. The fact that there are legitimate, intelligent people who are betting billions of dollars on this idea that they think Bitcoin is going to go from 20,000 or 22,000 or whatever it is now, maybe it's 23 or 24 now, up to 50, up to 500,000, 400,000 a coin or whatever. I don't want to miss that, right? So I invest about 10% of my portfolio in crypto. After it crashed in 2017, I just let my stuff sit there and I was like, okay, I'll just wait. Maybe it'll come back to life. And it did. And it's been a great ride. So the coins I tend to focus on the most are more mainstream coins, Bitcoin, XRP, Stellar Lumens, that's made a lot of money, Litecoin, Ethereum. I don't go too deep into like new coins and stuff like that. Or just because a coin is like a penny each or whatever, I'm not going to buy a bunch of it. I kind of like to understand the network and the business model of it. And because I haven't had as much time to research on it as much as I'd like, I've just kind of left my portfolio what it was back in 2017. And that's worked pretty well so far because crypto is really taken off. And there are a lot of people that see Bitcoin as digital gold, where they believe that as the value of the dollar drops and as economic risk kind of increases over time, Bitcoin's going to, keep benefiting from that. Now, XRP is being sued by the SEC. I don't know anything about that. I'm going to read up on that. So I'll if I find anything out, I'll let you know. Let's see, Danette. My husband took your stock options class and enjoyed it. He learned a lot and recommends it. Well, thank you for saying that, Danette. Anybody else who's done anything in the Black Business School, if you can say something on your social media about how good we are, what we do, we really appreciate that because we have such a great staff of experts. This weekend we did the Black Real Estate Weekend, and we had all these real estate experts that are super smart. And what we're trying to just hopefully get people to understand is that what you learned in your business school or college and things like that, like that's good stuff, but it was overpriced and it wasn't a fit for the Black community, and it doesn't teach you the value of ownership. We focus on ownership, we focus on Black people, and we keep the cost low. So we we're just really good at what we do, and also if you find that we're not good at what we do, like if you feel like, oh gosh, these people didn't do a good job for me, we give you your money back. Like, we don't want your money. Your university didn't give you your money back. We give you your money back if you're not happy. So if you want to go check out the Black Real Estate Weekend, we have the recording for that. You can go to blackrealestateweekend.com. It was really good, and we spent the whole weekend talking about real estate. If you were there that weekend, you're not afraid of real estate on any level. And there's a lot of ways to get started. So you can go to blackrealestateweekend.com to check out the recording. And we have a real estate family pack if you want to get your kids involved in real estate and do something for the whole family. That's realestatefamilypack.com, realestatefamilypack.com. Feel free to take a look at that. That discount lasts till the end of today. It's like 60% off or something. So you can go to realestatefamilypack.com. Okay, so let's see. Brianna says, good day. Investing in airline stocks, is it still a good idea? If it's a bad idea, then we'll be losing money together, because I'm invested heavily in airlines and cruise ships and all that. I think that the recovery stocks still have a lot of upside. I don't think that recovery has occurred completely. I think that there's so much money to be made in the recovery plays, like the airlines and the cruise ships and travel companies, things like that. Let's see. Nicole says, Dr. Boyce, I went to invest in XRP, but Bitstamp and Kraken are asking for my social security number. Is there another way to purchase without using these exchanges? Yeah, Coinbase is great, and Cash App. You can buy crypto on Cash App. You can buy it on Robinhood. There's a lot of places you can buy it. And now they may, I don't know where they might ask your social. I think a lot of the apps ask your social, but some are more trustworthy than others. And so buying crypto is very easy now. That's another thing that I think gives its price support. I believe crypto, particularly Bitcoin, the price support is going to come from a couple of things. One, you have a lot of smart experts that are dumping billions of dollars into crypto, and they don't dump their money into stuff for no reason. They do it because there's money to be made there, or they think that there is. Two, you've got this really interesting group of investors that have emerged during the pandemic. Typically the Robinhood traders, they call them retail investors, as opposed to institutional investors. The retail investors, they'll kind of buy anything, even the DoorDash CEO was stunned when he saw how high DoorDash stock was selling. He couldn't believe it. He was like, and I'm gonna just tell you, when the person who knows more than you do about the value of that company is stunned that you're willing to pay that price, you need to ask yourself, is this a smart decision for me, or am I going to end up being a sucker? It's like if I come to you and I come to work for you, and you offer me $100,000 a year, and I'm like, whoa, wow, you're paying $100,000 a year for? Whoa, gosh, I never would have paid that much. You should probably question your decision, right? So these retail investors are paying anything for anything, and so now they're kind of this herd. They're dumping all their money in Robinhood, inflating the values of a lot of companies. Elon Musk is worth over $100 billion a year because this crowd, they follow him around like he's a rock star. And this herd is also moving over to crypto now. Now they're on the little chat rooms or whatever on I forgot what that site is called, wherever, Reddit, places like that. And they're basically saying, hey, y'all, money's being made in Bitcoin. Look at Bitcoin. And so they're like, oh, okay, let's all go over to Bitcoin. So they're all going over there. And so they're like, oh, the party's at John's house. So the next thing you know, John's making money because he's charging $20 a person to come into John's house because everybody wants to get into the club. So I'm just watching how that crowd moves. Like, I think that literally will be a science. Like, I know academia very well, and I know how scholars think. There are scholars right now sitting in their offices writing research papers where all they're doing is they're studying the crowd. They're studying the herd. And this is not new. There have been people that have always studied what they call herding effects, or how people just do stuff because everybody else is doing it, or because it's trendy and cool. One of the guys on my dissertation committee by the name of David Hirschleifer was one of the world's leading experts on herding and how herds behave when it comes to investing. I can only imagine. I wish I haven't talked to him in 20 years, but I would be curious to know what he's thinking in terms of watching how these Robinhood traders are just doing interesting things to the market. And smart people are making good money off them because these are the sharks. The sharks make money from the fish. And what you're going to find is that when this sucker crashes, when this bubble pops, because it's going to pop, the fish are going to get slaughtered and the sharks will be out of town by then. A lot of the sharks are going to be they're going to be long gone because they're going to see the disaster coming before it actually arrives. So just be very careful in terms of how you think about investing. Okay, so let's see here. Mac 401 says, Dr. B, for your Black Wealth Bootcamp course, in the title it says, How to Fire Your Boss and Get Off the Corporate Plantation. How can someone manage to do this if I need to be enrolled in the school, go out into the workforce, earn a license in the trade in order to be able to be qualified in my required profession? Well, that's a heavy question. The Black Wealth, let's start with why we created the Black Wealth Bootcamp. A lot of people like the Black Wealth Bootcamp. And basically the one word that describes what the boot camp does and why it's designed, it's the word freedom. Freedom basically means security, financial security, having enough financial security that you're free to do whatever you want to do. So that means that if you have a job and you want to quit, we can show you how to quit your job. If you have a job and you want to stay, we'll show you how to put yourself in a position where you could quit if you wanted to, right? So financial security / freedom is pretty much the whole theme of the Black Wealth Bootcamp. We start on January 7th. It's blackwealthbootcamp.com. For those of you who are not enrolled yet, feel free to go take a look, blackwealthbootcamp.com. So with that said, though, in terms of all these things that you want to do, well, remember, you got 24 hours in your day like everybody else. And so maybe instead of doing everything at once, you can do things sequentially, right? You can't do everything that you're trying to do at one time. So maybe you have to make a plan, right? So you create a step-by-step plan. So it looks like, I mean, I'm reading the email and I see like there's a lot there, right? You're saying, how can I manage to do this if I need to be enrolled in school, go out in the workforce to earn a license in order to be able to be qualified in my profession? And okay, there we go. So you're talking about going to school and going to work. That might be hard to do, right? Or some people do that, right? So I think it's a matter of saying, okay, in this 24 hours that I have in my day, there's a difference in the way you might approach it if you're, say, a single man who doesn't have things, that occupy him like a spouse and children versus a man who has a family. A man who has a family, maybe he has to say, okay, I'm going to go to work. I'm going to earn money from my job. I'm going to save from the money in my job, save and invest. I'm going to cut my expenses so I can prepare for stage 2, which might include getting more education, right? I have 5 hours a day or 8 hours a day or whatever to allocate toward achieving this long-term goal. And that might mean I can't do everything at the same time, right? So for example, when I was at Syracuse and my goal was to quit that job, it was an okay job. It was a good job. I made 6 figures, but I didn't want to be there because I don't like things like racism. Things like racism bother me. And so when I wanted to leave, I knew I couldn't do everything at once. It took me 6 years to leave that job. And I probably could have left maybe in 2 years or 3 years because I started making money after about a year and a half. The reason I didn't leave early was because I had a certain job that didn't require all of my time. And also I didn't have a family. I was a single man. So I had more flexibility that allowed me to kind of do things in a certain way than if I'd say been a married person with 2 kids, or if I'd had a job that required me to go to work 8 hours a day. So like a first step to leaving the job might be to just get a different job that gives you flexibility. I've seen people become Uber drivers because Uber driving is a way to make money when it's not a pandemic. It's better when there's not a pandemic, but Uber driving lets you make money, but it also lets you decide when you want to work. And I see Uber drivers that will work on their business in between rides, or they'll just turn their little app off and not take any more rides because they've got new clients, right? They're able to kind of juggle 2 things at once, which is better than being at a factory for 10 hours a day, right? So all these factors come into play, and that's kind of the theme. So I can't answer that specific question, Matt, because I don't know the details of your life, but I can say that in the boot camp, one thing that we do is we try to help you lay out action plans that are specific based on how fast you want to get there, what your goal is, things like that. Because if you think about it, this is what my process was. When I was trying to quit my job, I realized that I said, I could probably survive on half of my income, maybe even a third of my income if I really had to. So what I did was I listed what my bills were. And I said, okay, I make this much and I spend almost that much, but really I only need that much. And then I prioritized my bills. I was like, okay, the most important bill is to pay my rent. Because at the time I was renting a townhouse. So I got to pay my rent. Got to make sure my car note's paid so I can have transportation. Got to make sure I can buy food and pay my Wi-Fi so I can run my business. That was it. So I knew in my head, I said, if worse came to worse, and believe me, there were some tough times. I mean, where money when more money went out than came in. Um, when that happened, I'd say, well, you know what? I'm just going to buy 2 weeks worth of food, get my rent paid, and I'll just wait out the storm. I'll just work from home and not go anywhere, not do anything until my money gets right again. Right. So I would encourage you to like kind of think about your life. If you don't have a complicated life and you have long-term economic goals, be careful about complicating your life before you achieve those goals. Because when you're young, you're 20 years old, 25, and you're free and single, and your whole life is in front of you. You can do things differently. You can move differently than a person who's 45, who's got a spouse and children, and maybe they have a spouse who doesn't even support the idea of them becoming an entrepreneur. Maybe their spouse is worthless. They're not helping them. All they're there to do is fight with you, and take your money. That person has fewer options, right? So you just kind of, have to think about, and then if they have bills and student loans on top of that, it's a more complicated process than if you're able to do it when you're free and single and able to do what you want. All those problems can be solved. It just takes different amounts of energy based on where you are. Okay, so let's see here. Do you have family members working for you? Would you recommend hiring family into the business? I do have family members that work for me, but most of my family members do not. All of them would love to have money, but not all of them are qualified or in terms of having the right value system. Values are really important. Like, if you work with me, you first of all, you got to care about Black people. You got to care about the Black stuff. This ain't for everybody. Everybody, being really super Black and unapologetically Black, it's not for the faint of heart. You got to be really tough and willing to deal with the chaos that comes with it. The rejection, you're marginalized. It doesn't matter. I know I'm 10 times smarter than most of these white guys you see on TV doing whatever they're doing, but racism is real. The Black man is not really accepted in certain spaces, particularly a Black man like me. So you have to really kind of be dedicated to what you're doing to accept that. And not everybody's kind of ready for that. Or even if you're like looking for validation, like if you're looking for people to tell you that you're smart and tell you that you're successful, you're not going to get a lot of validation from this kind of life, So you have to really be dedicated to this, and not everybody is strong enough to do this. So for example, celebrities. I bet a lot of celebrities that will step out and they'll say, oh, it's trendy to be Black now, so I'm going to go out and make this crazy statement because I've got 15 million Twitter followers and I want to pretend to be Black. But then when it gets really hard, like when Hollywood calls you and Hollywood is taking away your movie roles, or they're telling you that you're going to lose your show with Martha Stewart because you said some stuff that the elite are not happy with, they then end up having to fold and backpedal and apologize and explain and everything else. And I think it's because they don't understand that being truly Black and committed to the Black struggle is really hard sometimes, And so if somebody doesn't get it, like if I got to explain that to you or talk you into believing in the power of being Black, then this isn't really a good space for you. I almost feel guilty convincing my relatives. Like my brother came and worked with me. He's been working with me for 15 years. I felt guilty convincing him to do what I do, because I know what that comes with. I know about, I knew what it was like to be blackballed from my profession because I was being too Black. When I was at Syracuse University, I got blackballed. I couldn't get a job. And, think about this. You spend 10 years getting a PhD. I work with the best in the world. All these schools were claiming, oh, we're looking for Black professors. We can't find any qualified Black people. Well, I was qualified. I was certified by the best people on the planet in my field. And I still got to the point where because I spoke a certain language in Blackness, because I spoke about certain issues, even if I spoke about them intelligently and honestly and ethically, I was still rejected. I had to work to overcome that. I'm not mad about that because my life is great, but I felt guilty convincing my brother to go along with me. It's almost like pulling him into almost like a life of crime, like where he's going to get shot at and possibly go to prison, like you don't want to do that to your sibling. So I felt guilty because my brother had opportunities. He was more mainstream. He went to Cornell. And he knew all these children of billionaires and these white and Indian and Asian kids that whose families could literally hook him up with tons of money, but yet he stuck with me, and he had the resilience to live this life, and we've had a great life together, and it's been amazing. But everybody in my family ain't like my brother. Some of my relatives, they like the money. They like it when things are good. That's the thing. People like it. It's always great when you're shining or whatever. but people don't really understand that for every time you're shining, there's always times where it's not good. Every time you're comfortable, there's times where you're going to be uncomfortable, right? Even I'll tell you this. This is just me being honest. I'm kind of ranting here on this, but I kind of, it's something. I'm just going. It's a moment of clarity. But even when I was single, and I was becoming more successful. I was, doing the stuff that Negroes like to see. Like I was on TV and making money and giving these big speeches and standing next to celebrities. That came with like a certain amount of attention. There were women that would come along and say, "Oh, I want to be next to him because he's rich and he's smart and he's this and he's that." And I would peep that out in a minute. And I rejected a lot of that because I'd be thinking, you're not really about this life. You want to shine and you want to sit next to the celebrities and you want to go to the galas and live in the big fancy house, but you don't understand that all this shit could crumble in a second. You don't understand that, that when you do this well, you get to the point where you can become a threat to national security, where somebody might come along and kill you. You don't understand, just the chaos that can come with the darkest times when you're really in the middle of a battle. And if you're not built like that, like then you're not ready for this, right? So my question was always, okay, I know she likes the sunny days, but really, new edition again, can you stand the rain? And a lot of people can't stand the rain. They love to shine, but they can't stand the rain. They love to go to heaven, but they ain't ready to deal with hell. So when I look for a black woman, and I say a black woman because I was only built for a black woman, I had to marry an African-American woman. I look for a woman who could appreciate the sunshine, but would be able to really withstand the rain. And so if you want to know why I'm marrying Alicia, it's because Alicia, she grew up in the hood. She grew up dirt poor. She grew up in Gary, Indiana, which at the time was the murder capital of the world. So she has seen the worst and dealt with the worst. And she will sit with me on the mountaintop, but she will roll with me in the mud. And that's what she has told me. She said, "Boyce, don't you worry about anything. If you go broke and everything falls apart, then that's okay. We will make it through, because all that matters is how much we love each other. And that's what's going to keep us together." That is what I was looking for. If you want to know like how I made that choice, I thought about what it's like to be in the mud, what the dark moments are like, what the difficult moments are like. And I said, I need a tough woman who is able to understand that and to be okay with that. Right. So that's, the thing. And I think that for those of you that are really committed to being black, committed to, entrepreneurship and economic independence and all these other things, the volatility of it all, you must pick a partner that is equally able to withstand that volatility. Like, you don't want to try to become an entrepreneur and build $1 million business when you got a spouse who's yelling at you because you quit your fucking job at the post office. Like, seriously, well, we don't have enough money and you're doing this whole stupid thing, this whole stupid dream. Like, so, and also you don't want to be that person. The easiest way to get somebody to not love you anymore is to constantly crap all over their dreams. Like, if you're constantly, spitting on their dreams and telling them their dreams are nothing and they're stupid and it's a waste of time, that will make them hate you. They will despise you. They might submit to you, but they're going to resent you forever. So you need to just go and get with somebody who's equally yoked. Get somebody who has the same risk tolerance that you have, and because if you don't, you're going to end up frustrating each other, right? And so in my 30s, because I would get that question all the time, like when I'm getting married, and people are like, "Well, why didn't you get married sooner?" and blah blah blah. It's because I was like, this is not an easy life, and I don't really know a lot of women who are really okay with this. Like, I was taking a lot of chances. I mean, it's something that people don't get when they think that, like, you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Oh, it's easy for you. No, I've gone through a type of hell that I know that a lot of people, 90%, 95% of all people would not be willing to go through. So stop that. Stop thinking that it was bright and sunny every single step of the way. No, it was pretty damn hard. Right? It was really hard. So I'm just going to tell you, if you want all of this, then you got to be willing to deal with all of that. If you want to go to heaven, you got to be willing to go through hell. If you ain't willing to go through hell and you want to be comfortable the entire time, I don't know what to say to you. I have no advice for you, because I don't know any type of greatness you can have in this world without some type of sacrifice. So that's my thought. That's my closing thought for today. I'm going to head on out, and I didn't even plan on talking about all of that, but it's just kind of coming out. So I was like, fuck it, let me just share it with you and maybe it'll help you. So I hope this conversation was helpful. have a good day, everybody. I will see you soon. Those of you meeting us for Powernomics Masterclass at 2:00, the recording for the last masterclass is at powernomicsmasterclass.com. And also, those of you that want to take a look at the boot camp, you can go to blackwealthbootcamp.com.